Welcome. You're listening to Outside the Signal, and this is one from our History of Wild England series. Today, we're looking into something pretty unusual, I think, in British history, something you probably wouldn't expect to be, well, quite so central.
It's the surprising and often really influential story of Britain's royal rat catchers and their modern successors, the chief mousers. And there's even one case, believe it or not, where a mouse held the position.
A mouse. Okay, we definitely need to get to that. We've got loads of sources here, diaries, court records, academic papers, even some strange things that sound like mouse newspapers.
Yes, those two. It's quite a mix.
So our plan is basically to trace this whole weird history, from royal rat catcher, the human job, all the way to today's chief mouser.
Okay, so our mission today is to kind of journey through British court life, but see it through the eyes, or maybe the paws, of its most unexpected inhabitants. And yeah, reveal how these furry officials were often way more than just pest control.
It's a really unique angle, isn't it? We usually focus on the kings, queens, the politician. But if you look closely, sometimes history turns on these tiny details. Or, well, maybe tiny creatures. So our goal here is really to unpack all that stuff. See what we can learn about the cats. And yes, you mentioned him, one very notable mouse who held these roles. Did they actually influence things? They certainly left their mark. Or paw print, you could say.
Let's set the scene then. Imagine 16th century England. Palaces, grandeur, and rats. Like a huge problem with rats.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't just, unpleasant. They were destroying food supplies, spreading disease, think plague. In the royal court itself, this was a serious threat. Not quite up to modern standards.
Right.
Rats were everywhere. A constant, serious problem. Not just annoying, but, destroying food, spreading disease. In a crowded palace, it was a major, major headache.
Sounds less than glamorous.
Yeah.
So how did Henry VIII deal with it? He was pretty decisive, wasn't he?
Oh, very. In 1509, he just decreed, we need an official court position, the royal rat catcher.
And the first one was human.
Yeah, a guy named Tat Ratherder, ironically enough. But apparently chasing rats through, noblemen's bedrooms, it caused a bit of friction. His time in the role was pretty brief.
Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting, right? The cat connection?
So, historical accounts point to this key moment, November 1511, Hampton Court. Henry's in this, heated Privy Council meeting. His top advisors, they're debating military strategy, specifically against France. And then right in the middle of it, according to eyewitnesses, this huge, dark rat darts out. Apparently, it really startled the king.
A rat disrupting state affairs.
Exactly. But then suddenly, this ginger cat appears. Whisky belonged to the palace chef.
Ah, Whisky.
And Whisky just, boom, nails the rat. Swiftly takes care of business.
Whisky saves the day. And wasn't there some weird speculation about that particular rat?
Oh, yeah. The whole incident caused such a stir. Rumors flew around the palace. Some people were genuinely suggesting it wasn't just any rat. No, maybe it was a spy. Trained by the French king, Francis I, to, disrupt English plans.
A Verdry spy rat. Wow. Okay, and this led to that famous Henry VIII quote.
It did. He reportedly declared right then and there, a good cat is worth more than a group of bad ministers.
Huh. I bet the ministers loved that.
Probably not. But yeah, this event was huge. It directly led to the royal rat catcher job becoming exclusively for cats, formalized, official duties, even designated living quarters in the palace.
So what were the official duties? Beyond the obvious, I mean.
Well, we dug into some old records, found some documents, obviously daily patrols, keeping the rat population down.
Sure.
But also attending important state meetings, presumably as rat security, to prevent repeats of the Hampton Court incident.
Okay.
And get this, representing British dignity abroad.
A cat representing British dignity abroad. This just keeps getting better.
Wild, isn't it? And some scholars think Whisky's influence went even further.
How so?
Well, there's this anecdote, right? The day Henry signed the Act of Supremacy, hugely important historical moment, Whisky was apparently right there, by the king's side. And when Henry paused, maybe hesitated, Whisky supposedly put his paw right on the quill.
Like giving him a little nudge.
That's one interpretation, like a moment of feline resolve pushing things forward.
That's quite an image.
It is. And another study took it even further. Political scientist Jack Wilson, he did some kind of big data analysis.
On 16th century cat stats?
Something like that. He found this correlation. When Whisky was catching more rats, Henry seemed to make more aggressive policy choices, fewer rats caught, more conservative decisions.
So the cat's performance was like a political barometer. You're saying the palace rat count might have actually influenced national policy decisions.
That's what the numbers hinted at. It's a fascinating, maybe slightly mad idea, but it shows how these, seemingly small things, even in animals' presence, could have these weird ripples through history.
Okay, so cats as official mousers became the standard. But it wasn't always smooth sailing, was it? The next chapter is a bit darker.
Oh, definitely. Let's shift to the reign of Mary I. Under Queen Mary, the official mouser became, well, something of a tyrant.
Ah, this must be Bradshaw. The infamous Bradshaw. What was going on when he showed up?
So it's summer 1557, London's baking hot, and with the heat comes, rats. Loads of them. The palace was overrun, apparently.
A bad situation?
Yeah.
And how did Bradshaw get the job? He wasn't, appointed through normal channels.
No, he was a stray, originally. Yeah. But according to court stories from the time, he made quite an entrance. Caught 7 rats, one after another, right in front of Queen Mary.
7, right there.
Yeah. She was apparently super impressed by his, agility and sheer ferocity. Appointed him royal rat catcher on the spot.
Quite the job interview.
Sealed the deal. And at first he was brilliant, got the rat problem totally under control. Became a bit of a court hero, actually. There's even a praise poem written about him somewhere in the records.
From hero to tyrant, though, what went wrong?
Well, accounts from palace staff start getting disturbing. Bradshaw wasn't just catching rats anymore. Suddenly, palace birds, squirrels, they started disappearing too. He seemed to be actively, disrupting things. One attendant called him a bloody monster.
Uh-oh. And didn't he attack the queen's own dog?
He did. Labby, the queen's pet dog, Bradshaw apparently attacked him in the royal garden, left the poor dog unconscious. This wasn't just cat versus dog. This was seen as a major challenge to order right at the top.
That must have caused chaos.
Huge division at court. One faction was horrified, said he was damaging the crown's reputation, demanded he be fired.
And the other side?
While others argued his ferocity was actually good, necessary to maintain order. Maybe it even intimidated some of the human courtiers, not just the pests.
So the debate about Bradshaw kind of mirrored bigger arguments about control and order.
That's a really interesting take from some historians, yeah. They link the pro-Bradshaw camp, the ones supporting his strong measures, maybe to the Protestant faction at court, and the opposition, those against the violence, more to the Catholic side.
Wow. So even a cat could become a symbol in religious politics.
It suggests so. Animals reflecting human struggles. And then things got even weirder. There were these unsettling rumors.
What kind of rumors?
That Bradshaw was recruiting other cats. Training. Like a cat army. People claim they could hear them drilling at night.
A cat army. Serious.
That's what the accounts say. And then things escalated. Suspicious cat hair found in the queen's breakfast. Anonymous threats delivered using fish bones.
Fish bones. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. How did Mary deal with this catastrophe?
Well, the Privy Council debated it for 3 whole days. Apparently it was intense. In the end, Mary made a pretty surprising call. She stripped him of his title, the royal rat catcher title, but she let him stay in the palace.
Just demoted him. Why?
Who knows? Maybe they were still a bit scared of him, or his cat army. Anyway, his removal was eventful.
Oh, I bet. How did that go down?
Picture this. Cloudy Tuesday morning, Bradshaw's woken by a horn. He's confused at first, then sees attendants coming, not with treats, but with chains.
Oh, dear.
He looks around, realizes his supposed cat army is nowhere in sight, and then all hell breaks loose.
He didn't surrender peacefully.
Not a chance. He apparently dodged them, scrambled over furniture, caused absolute mayhem tearing through the palace. There's even a bit about him hiding inside a minister's fake beard during the chase.
You're kidding.
That's the story. Eventually, they cornered him, dragged him out, presented him to the queen.
And what did she say, looking at this furious, muddy cat?
She apparently just sighed and said, "My God, did we make things too complicated?" And then, as they held him up, Bradshaw let out this blood-curdling shriek. Some nuns nearby thought it was demonic possession. One young sister swore his head was spinning around.
It sounds more like extreme cat anger than demons.
Probably. So Bradshaw ended up living out his days in a kitchen warehouse. Servants looked after him, but his official power was gone. Interestingly, archaeological research suggests he lived to be pretty old for a cat back then, maybe 16, dying naturally around 1558.
Wow. So the big lesson from the Bradshaw saga. Maybe don't give your cat too much unchecked power.
Seems like a reasonable takeaway.
After that whole saga, Mary decided things needed to change structurally.
She did. She basically concluded that giving one individual cat or otherwise that much power was asking for trouble. Like, letting the rats run the cheese shop was her analogy. A definite conflict of interest.
So she reformed the whole Mouser system.
Yep. Changed the title, first off. Officially became Chief Mouser to the Cabinet Office.
Ah, the title we know today.
Exactly. And she cut back on the power and the perks. No more special fish treats, sadly for the cats. And crucially, she created a new position. Deputy Mouser.
Deputy Mouser, like checks and balances for cats.
Pretty much. The chief mouser would nominate the deputy, but the Privy Council had to approve. A system to prevent another Bradshaw, theoretically. Though one historical commentary did joke about the practicalities, picturing the chief mouser just yawning through the deputy's reports while the deputy gets distracted chasing its tail.
Yeah, you wonder if bringing back Rabbi the dog might have been simpler.
Maybe.
But then, things took an even more bizarre turn under James I, didn't they? We go from cat bureaucracy to a mouse.
Oh, this is maybe the strangest part of the whole story.
History doesn't do straight lines, does it? Sometimes things get flipped upside down. Which brings us to James I's reign and Remy.
Remy the mouse. A mouse is chief mouser. How on earth did that happen?
It's an incredible story. First off, Remy wasn't just some random house mouse.
Research suggests he came from this, noble Norman rat family, ancient lineage going way back.
Rat nobility.
Apparently. There's even a document in the Royal Archives, coded RR 1604L, that talks about his upbringing among wine barrels and notes his extraordinary intelligence, to the point where he supposedly understood human language.
Okay, a talking noble rat. This is less wild history and more Narnia or something.
It does blur the lines, doesn't it? But that's what makes this period so bizarre and fascinating. The story goes, Remy overheard merchants talking about London's rat problem, got inspired, and traveled to England.
Right.
First impressions, not great, apparently hated the English cheese, but he quickly sensed something was wrong, something bigger than just bad cheese. Something conspiratorial.
And that something was the Gunpowder Plot.
The Gunpowder Plot. Accounts describe Remy, night of November 4th, near Parliament. He smells the gunpowder, finds the 36 barrels hidden in a cellar, sees the guy guarding them, Guy Fawkes.
So a rat discovered one of the most famous plots in British history.
According to these sources, yes. Realizing the danger, Remy apparently undertook this epic journey across London to warn the king, dodging cats, drunks, you name it.
Okay, but how does a rat warn the king? Squeaking isn't going to cut it.
This is the craziest part. Sir Robert Cecil, a key minister at the time, wrote about it. Remy bursts into this Privy Council meeting, doesn't run away, walks right up to King James I. And then he performs this incredibly complex series of actions, mimics a huge explosion, points towards Parliament, acts out the king being blown up, even does an impression of Guy Fawkes' mustache.
He acted it all out. Rat charades.
Essentially, Cecil wrote he was utterly baffled, couldn't make head nor tail of it, but King James apparently understood immediately.
The king got it.
Seemed to, yes. Based on Remy's performance, James was able to secretly thwart the plot. They arrested the conspirators just hours before the planned attack. Disaster averted.
Wow, James must have been incredibly grateful.
Totally. The very next day, he summons Remy, appoints him chief mouser. First and only time a rat officially held the office. Apparently, it's still a point of pride for the British Rat Association today.
Remy the rat, chief mouser.
Yeah.
Okay. Was he any good at the job? Besides uncovering treason, I mean.
By all accounts, yeah. Really effective at clearing out infestations. He's even credited with sniffing out a few other minor plots later on. Some historians even speculate his presence somehow helped stabilize James I's often shaky rule.
But his time as chief mouser was incredibly short, wasn't it?
Tragically short. Just 10 days after his appointment, Remy vanished during a routine patrol. Never seen again. His fate is this huge mystery.
Okay, so what happened? There are theories, right?
Two main ones. The first is basically rat retaliation.
His own kind turned on him.
Exactly. The thinking is, by working for humans, taking this official job, Remy was seen as a traitor. A renegade.
A rodent Benedict Arnold.
Pretty much. There are reports of this underground newspaper printed on salvaged scraps, presumably circulating among London rats, called him a damned French traitor, claimed he only did it for power and a bribe of 10 chests of cheese.
10 chests of cheese.
That was the rumor. This theory suggests a radical group, the Patriotic Rat Alliance, targeted him.
Okay. And isn't there a twist involving the palace cats in this theory?
It seems that way. And to make it even more complicated, one expert suggests the deputy mousers, the cats, might have secretly backed the radical mice.
The cats helped the mice get rid of the mouse, Chief Mouser. Why?
Felt threatened, maybe? A mouse in charge? Unthinkable. There's even a supposed diary entry from a former cat chief mouser calling Remy a disgraceful mouse who wanted to kick all the cats out.
Okay, that's wonderfully complex. Intrigue upon intrigue. What's the other main theory?
That points the finger directly at King James I. This comes from analysis by Thomas Hobbes, the philosopher. Hobbes thought James, being super paranoid, might have orchestrated the whole thing. Appoint a mouse, stir up trouble among the rodents, maybe use Remy as bait or a sacrifice to expose enemies.
A calculated move by a suspicious king. What's the evidence for that?
Well, James's paranoia is famous, and Hobbes argued if a mouse could uncover the Gunpowder Plot, what other royal secrets could he uncover? Plus, right after appointing Remy, diaries show James was planning a huge mouse-clearing operation in Buckingham Palace. Remy disappears just before that starts. The timing looks very suspicious. And officials' diaries from the time mention the king wanting all rats gone. Plus, after Remy vanished, records show the cheese rations for the deputy mousers, the cats, suddenly increased significantly. A reward, perhaps.
The timing is definitely suspicious. But why wait 10 days if you plan to get rid of him?
That's the million-dollar question. Maybe James spent the first 9 days trying to persuade Remy to become the palace chef instead. Or maybe he was just grappling with the sheer weirdness of having a talking rat chief mouser before deciding, enough is enough. Pure speculation, of course.
Right. Whatever happened, Remy's gone, and the deputy mouser, a cat named Felicity, steps up. The cat dynasty is restored.
Exactly. And adding one more layer. In the 1960s, archaeologists found something under Buckingham Palace, a sort of cage-like rat den. Evidence suggested something had been confined there long-term.
So Remy might have been imprisoned.
It fits the darker theories, doesn't it? A grim possibility.
So rat revenge, king's plot, or maybe just locked away under the palace.
Or there's the folktale, much nicer. It says Remy just got fed up with all the politics, escaped, and found some mystical land where animals live in peace.
A happier ending.
Yeah, it has that appeal, doesn't it? The open ending. Apparently kids in Britain still sometimes dress up as Remy the Rat on Guy Fawkes Night, November 5th.
Really? That's amazing.
It is. Sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction.
Absolutely. Which brings us speeding forward to the modern era, and probably the most famous chief mouser of them all right now.
David Cameron once said, only 3 beings get free run of number 10, the PM, cabinet ministers, and Larry. And Larry's probably got the best job security.
Larry's the current chief mouser. Came from Battersea Dogs and Cats home in 2011, a 3-year-old stray.
Someone who worked there said he looked arrogant even then. Born for the job, maybe?
Perhaps. He certainly lasted. Flowing prime ministers iron Larry, they say. He's seen off 6 p.m. since 2011. Cameron, May, Johnson, Truss, Sunak.
He has. But his relationship with Liz Truss during her historically short 45-day term in 2022, that was particularly dramatic, dubbed the Battle of the Lettuce in the press. Because of that viral stunt timing, whether she'd last longer than a lettuce, sources suggest Larry, the old hand, sensed the instability when she arrived.
Right. What was the issue there?
Well, reports suggest Truss wasn't really a cat person. Found Larry a bit lazy, apparently, wanted a more aggressive mouser. There were even rumors she wanted to outsource the whole pest control job.
Ouch. And Larry took exception.
It seems Larry decided to engage in some special official cat actions. Witnesses reported him just staring intently at Truss during a cabinet meeting, making her visibly uncomfortable, causing her to falter.
The power stare.
Tactical. Then there was the famous photobomb when she was giving a speech outside number 10. But the peak moment. During her big presentation on her economic growth plan, Larry apparently jumped onto the cabinet table and dropped a dead mouse right in the middle of it.
Oh, Larry.
Chaos ensued. One commentator actually linked that specific messy incident to the disastrous reception of her policy, arguing Larry's mouse sort of symbolized the whole thing falling apart.
Life imitating art, or cat behavior imitating politics, Did Truss try to get rid of him?
She reportedly tried, suggested sending him to the countryside for a nice long holiday.
I bet that went down well.
It went down like a lead balloon. One cabinet minister was quoted anonymously saying removing Larry would cause greater public opposition than abolishing the monarchy.
Wow, that's serious political clout for a feline.
Larry clearly had massive support, public and within government. There were even spoof Larry for PM ads popping up around London.
And, well, we know how that ended. Truss's term was very short. Larry remained. Position solidified.
Absolutely. It really highlighted the chaotic state of British politics at that moment. As one political commentator wrote, when the cat is more popular and stable than the prime minister, maybe it's time to fundamentally rethink the system.
A fair point. And Larry's story isn't over. There's some kind of tech angle now.
The Digital Larry Project, yes. Apparently, researchers are using AI to try and simulate Larry's decision-making, like Mouser logic. The project head told Wild that, surprisingly, this kind of logic might actually be useful for tackling complex political problems. Who knew?
Mouser logic for global issues.
It really does. Doesn't matter if it's the 16th century or the 21st. Never underestimate the power of a cat, especially one named Larry.
It's been an absolutely amazing tour through this hidden corner of history. Human rat catchers, power mad cats, a genius mouse, a modern icon.
It really makes you see how these, seemingly minor animal figures could be these weird little pivot points in British history, working the corridors of power with claws and whiskers, maybe guarding things in ways we just don't normally think about.
They saw it all, were part of it all, maybe even caused some of it. But the funny thing is, running through all these sources is the sense that, for all their historical impact,
they probably didn't care one bit about the human drama, did they?
Not really. These animals, whatever their actual motivations, probably naps and snacks.
Definitely naps and snacks.
They ended up playing these surprisingly dramatic roles in the whole story of Britain.
It's quite a thought, isn't it? All the serious politics, the plotting, the state affairs, and maybe the most stable presence through centuries of it is, well, a cat on the payroll.
And that one very special mouse.
Are there real influences, sometimes the ones we completely overlook, operating right under our noses? Something to think about. Well, thank you for joining us on this particular deep dive into Britain's wild history of furry officials.
Thanks for listening. Goodbye.